Okay, well, hello and welcome. I'm going to take you through Thucydides Book 4, selections from this, and we're starting at chapter 3. And this is the story of Pylos and Sphakteria. So the year that we're looking at is about 425 BC. 40 ships have been sent from Sicily under the generals Sophokles and Eurymedon, and they're sent out to sort out some of the problems in Corcyra. Now Demosthenes is travelling with them, and he wants to set up a permanent base in the enemy territory, while Eurymedon is keen to go on to attack the enemy fleet at Corcyra. And that's where we take up the story. Kaihos egeneto. Now this is a little bit like par egeneto. So they found themselves, literally, and when they were, or thus they were. So when they were pleontes sailing, katatane laconicane. This is off the coast of Laconia. Kai epunthanonto. So this is imperfect. And they were perceiving that the ships of the Peloponnesians, the Peloponnesians, were already, literally are already, so we'd say in English, were already in Corcyra. And we get a nice homen, and it's going to be balanced by a hodeh here, so there's argument between these two groups. Homen, so on the one hand, Eurymedon and Sophokles. This is an imperfect, and it's to hasten. So they were making haste, or they were perhaps trying to make haste, into Corcyra. But Demosthenes, ekelue, bid them. Skontas is, of course, the aorist participle from echo, and it's used in naval situations, naval contexts, to put a ship into shore. So he bid them, firstly, having put to shore in Pylos, kai praxantes, aorist participle, and having completed what was necessary, so having done what was necessary, poiestai, and this is middle, to then make the journey. So he wants them to put into Pylos, having done what was necessary. You probably translate that as to continue, so to make the journey, to continue the journey. Anti-legontone, this is a part of a genitive absolute, but you have to supply autone, and the autone is referring, of course, to Eurymedon and Sophokles. So when they were speaking against this, anti-legontone, supply autone, when they were speaking against this, katatukan, by chance, a chemon, a storm, epigenominous, having arisen, katainenke, this is aorist from kataphero, this storm carried the ships down into Pylos. So whether they wanted to or not, they're forced to go to Pylos. And Demosthenes immediately, axiou from axioo, this is the imperfect here, it's something like he deemed it right, so he thought it right, perhaps he insisted, teikidzesthai, that they fortify Tokorion, the land. And then we get this little parenthesis here, epiga xune pliosai. Now there's variant reading here. Some manuscripts have sun epluse, the meaning's the same. For this one, reading this one, we have to understand something like he said. For epituto, for this reason, understand he said, he had sailed out with them. So we get this nice compound here of sun plus ek plus pleo is the verb, aorist eplausa, to sail out with them. Kai apephine, and he pointed out that there was much euporia, much abundance of xulone, of wood, and of stones. And he pointed out, now we get here a on, which is a neuter participle, and that's agreeing with tokorion from up here. So we have to understand the place again, and then we get a neuter participle. So so he pointed out that there was an abundance of wood and stones, and he pointed out that the land being karteron, strong, and eremon, well, this is something like unoccupied. It means desolate, but probably more in the sense of unoccupied here, and was unoccupied. Now we get out to tekai epi polutes chores, both it and epipolu, much of the choras, much of the surrounding land. So we translate a large part of the adjoining district for this bit here. So he pointed out that it strong was unoccupied, both it and for the most part the adjoining district for the rest of the land. For hepulos, Pylos, ap eke is distant from. This is a standard meaning of this. Ap eke is distant, and it's taking a genitive here. For Pylos is distant from Sparta. Now when you see Marlister with numbers, it means approximately. 400 stades. Now 400 stades is round about 70 kilometres. So it's about 400 stades from Sparta. And estin, it is, this is a slightly tricky little phrase here. It means something like that it was once in Messenian territory. So it's it is in the land being once in Messenia. That's how you could take that there. It's a tricky phrase, and it is in the land once being Messenia. That is part of the land of Messenia, which of course was taken over by the Spartans. And the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans, they call it Coryphasion. Hoide polus ephasen. Now this is, the hoi is referring back to Eurymedon and Sophokles here, and it's a bit sarcastic. So, but that's Eurymedon and Sophokles, they said there to be polas acras. There were many, eremus, many other deserted headlands, many other deserted capes in the Peloponnesus. If he wished, taking control of them, if he wished the city to spend money. So if he wished the city to go to the expense of occupying them. This is a sarcastic comment from Eurymedon and Sophokles. To, probably for auto. So, but it seemed to him, and the subject is tutatokorion. So this land seemed to him, Marlon, very different in some respect than any other. So this land seemed to him to differ in a certain respect from any other. We get a genitive absolute, this is from Pros Amy, there being attached to it a limon, a harbour, and the Messenians being oikoos, being locals for it. So the Messenians were connected with the place, and to archaon is adverbial, so from of old, for a very long time. So the Messenians being connected with the place for a very long time, and homophonous, speaking the same language. You have to understand he thought with all of this. We've got a genitive absolute up here, and then it changes to accusative and infinitive. So we have to understand he thought the Messenians, he regarded the Messenians as being local for a long time and speaking the same language, and he thought that them setting out, this is the Messenians, setting out from it, would injure most of all, or would cause injury most of all to the Spartans. And also, at the same time, that they would be bebaius phulakas, they'd be reliable guards of the land. And that is the end of section 3.